Well, you have to start by saying that what the committee said last night was a complete travesty. There's no getting around it. And I know they work hard. They sit in a room at a five-star resort ordering caviar and champagne and sit around and talk about college football when they have 4,000 numbers to look at. So I don't know how they came up with these numbers. Georgia started the season, Greeny, against Clemson, which has been ranked which was in the top 10 at the time. Their road schedule has been the toughest of anyone in the country, as you pointed out. They went to Alabama, Texas, and then Ole Miss. They've all been ranked in the top 10. They also went to Kentucky, which has been very poor, but they did beat Ole Miss, which is ranked inside the system. They have a chance. They'll play Tennessee this weekend, and if they win, they'll probably end up back in the committee's good graces. But how the committee can disrespect them and put schools like Penn State? Are you serious? What has Penn State done this year?
You're an idiot and a scammer.
Okay, Paul Finebaum, you can save your SEC bias for a later time. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Paul Finebaum being angered over Georgia being ranked lower than Penn State. Apparently, Paul Finebaum does not know how to do basic math, as Georgia currently has more losses than Penn State on paper. Georgia now enters a must-win game against Tennessee this upcoming Saturday. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So, here it is. Is Georgia ranked too low in the college football playoff rankings? I'm going to say no to that question. I understand when you look at it on the surface, you're going to think Georgia is ranked way too low in the college football playoff rankings, but we're talking about resume, which is what the committee has relied upon in past seasons. Then you have to put Georgia at 12. There is no way Georgia should be ranked higher than 12 when you actually look at the full context of the situation. Now, the reason why it seems like Georgia is ranked too low is because they have usually finished in higher places. That's also because Georgia has not lost 2 games in a season in recent memory. Georgia has not been playing like a good football team this year for their standards, and that is because their quarterback play has been absolutely terrible. You look at how Carson Beck has turned himself from a potential first-round quarterback into being an undraftable quarterback. Now, me personally, I was never a believer in Carson Beck from day one. I always believed Carson Beck would end up being the Josh Rosen of the 2025 NFL draft class. The guy struggles to make basic reads. The guy struggles to protect the football. He takes too many sacks. He plays with low football IQ, and there isn't really anything Carson Beck does well whatsoever. If Carson Beck didn't play at Georgia, no one would even care about Carson Beck. Carson Beck is one of the worst quarterbacks in college football right now, and the only reason why he's winning these games right now is because of their running game and defense. Trevor Etienne is so underrated at his job. He's been one of the better running backs in all of college football. Nobody is talking about Trevor Etienne as being one of the best running backs in college football, but more people should absolutely do that because Georgia would not even be close to contending for the college football playoff if Trevor Etienne was not balling out the way that he was doing for Georgia. You also look at the defense for Georgia, they've also been balling out as well. I know that statistically they're having a down year at certain points during ball games, but that's going to happen when you're on the field all game because Georgia isn't able to sustain drives on offense. Of course, that can be attributed to Carson Beck being a terrible quarterback in college football. Even when Georgia wins in blowout fashion, you never feel good about the way how their offense plays. Unless Georgia's defense plays phenomenal in the opening starts of every game, Georgia is usually out of it. That's because Carson Beck is not a great quarterback. Even when Carson Beck gets going in the second half of games, it's never really because of Carson Beck. It's because the receivers are always open all the time. When you look at Georgia's resume, they are exactly where they need to be in the college football playoff rankings. And Paul Finebaum throwing a fit over that is showing off his homerism for SEC football. Paul Finebaum has always been an SEC homer for college football. He's always believed the SEC is the superior conference to every conference in college football. This guy has always had an axe to grind with for other schools that are not associated with the SEC. Paul Finebaum once again showed his bias by complaining that Georgia was ranked too low. You're not putting Georgia above Bama and Ole Miss. I know that a lot of people feel like Georgia has the better roster on paper, but when you went head to head against those two teams, you lost to both of them, and they both have 2 losses, so obviously you're going to put those 2 ahead ahead of each other. Of all the other teams in there are one-loss teams, and using basic math, you'll soon realize that Georgia does not belong anywhere higher than 12th in the college football playoff rankings. Is it unfortunate for Georgia that they're not a better football team? Of course, but who is that on at the end of the day? Georgia. They have to go out there and win their games. If they win their games, they're going to be able to take care of business on their own. They still control their destiny to making the college football playoff this year. I also want to talk about what Paul Finebaum said in the past regarding Jim Harbaugh. He sounded like an absolute idiot. The reason why I bring this up is because I need to establish the lack of credibility that Paul Finebaum has in himself at ESPN. Roll the film.
Is this the week he finally does it?
No. Greeny, you can ask me this question until I'm 150, and the answer is still no. I don't think this Michigan team, although they are better than they have been, significantly better, can beat Ohio State. This is a really good, if not great, Ohio State team. And I think there's something in Jim Harbaugh's brain. I don't know what it is. I don't really want to know. He is incapable, Greeny, of beating his biggest rival.
You serious?
Boom. Paul Finebaum clearly did not know what he was talking about, because Jim Harbaugh won 3-0 in his next 3 matchups in the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. Jim Harbaugh, by the way, ended up becoming a national champion head coach as well, so congrats to Jim Harbaugh for proving Paul Finebaum wrong. Once again, Paul Finebaum shows his stupidity in that old clip that I showed you guys, just like he's showing his stupidity right now for Penn State. He's crying that Penn State is being ranked too high. And look, he's not completely wrong about that. I don't think Penn State is that great of a football team either. However, this guy is saying that Georgia is better than Penn State when there really isn't an argument for that. To be completely honest, I would put Indiana above Penn State right now. Indiana has not lost a game this year. They play in the same conference as Penn State, and Penn State currently has 1 loss. I would put Indiana above Penn State right now. Do I think Indiana will finish with a better record than Penn State? We'll see. I'm not completely confident that will be the case, because Indiana still has Ohio State left on their schedule, but if we're talking about resume, you have to put Indiana above Penn State. Paul Finebaum is not completely wrong in that regard, but to say that Georgia is a better football team than Penn State on paper, it's a take that has no merit whatsoever. I think Georgia is going to be the better team between Tennessee and Georgia. Do I think Georgia's offense will actually show up? Of course not, but I think Georgia will win this game because their defense will be amazing. Tennessee is not a great team throwing the football, so if Georgia can go ahead and stack up the box in the run game, that's going to help out tremendously as well. Obviously, Tennessee's biggest threat on offense is the run game, so if I'm Georgia, I'm stacking up the box. I'm making sure that Tennessee has to beat me through the pass, and so far Tennessee has not been consistently a great team throwing the football. I think Georgia's going to be able to get some turnovers early and often in this ball game, which means Carson Beck will get short fields to work with. Even Carson Beck won't be able to mess that up, and I think Georgia's going to score some points early on. I think they're going to hold on for dear life, but they'll end up winning this game in ugly fashion. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. Ultimately, Georgia is going to come out of this game victorious. Trevor Etienne is going to have a good day running the football. He's going to be Georgia's best offensive player. Georgia will be able to win this game by 10 points. I got Tennessee scoring 13 points, while I got Georgia scoring 23 points. So I think the final score of this game is going to be 23-13 Georgia. I think the run game for Georgia is going to be efficient, and I think the defense for Georgia will be able to ball out against Tennessee. As for Carson Beck, as long as he doesn't throw 3 interceptions in this ball game, Georgia should be fine. They should be good enough to beat Tennessee. Georgia should be able to win this game due to the fact that they are also desperate for a win. A loss would basically eliminate them from the college football playoff. And also remember that Kirby Smart does not lose back-to-back games in college football. Overall, though, I still think Georgia is ranked exactly where they are at. I don't think they're ranked too low at all, but I also think Georgia will be able to beat Tennessee come Saturday. I also think they still control their own destiny in making the college football playoff this season. So that is why Georgia is not being ranked too low in the college football playoff rankings. Clearly, Paul Finebaum is showing his bias by being an SEC homer and showing favoritism with Georgia being a better team than Penn State, according to the mind of Paul Finebaum. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @DustinAsTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinAsTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter at Dustin as Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.